You're listening to Masters Decoded podcast series. I'm your host and the chief decoder, Anis Merchant. Through this podcast, I bring in guests who are successful in a different walk of life to decode and map out their careers and journeys with the hope that we gain all our learnings. The world around us is changing exponentially, and how the impact of artificial intelligence, technology, and other socio-economic factors have either influenced or enhanced my guests' careers. In today's episode, I invite Arjun Khanna, an entrepreneur and a fashion designer. Arjun Khanna, or AKA, is a couture that is synonymous with the most elegant menswear in India. The designer's fashion and style sensibility is truly impeccable. His contribution to men's fashion in India has been pioneering with his sheer imagination when it comes to his design. His talent is evident through his outstanding collections that are guaranteed to please. From celebrities, business moguls, and actors, Arjun's clientele includes famous personalities like Rahul Bajaj, Anand Mahindra, Gautam Singhania, Shekhar Kapur, Zakir Hussain, Ranbir Kapoor, Arjun Rampal, Will Smith, Sachin Tendulkar, Harbhajan Singh, Sir Richard Branson, and many more. Since September 2003, Arjun Khanna has also been the premier design director for the Raymond suiting campaign that exhibits the designer's distinctive, elegant, and signature style of perfect suit making and superior design. In 2009, he was the only Indian designer invited to partner exclusively with iconic motorcycle brand Harley Davidson for their launch to India. Without much further ado, let me get on with it. Hi Arjun, welcome to Masters Decoded podcast series.
Hi, Anis. Pleasure to be here. Sounds good.
Arjun, you've been in the fashion industry now for last 20 plus years, and fashion as an industry is pretty big, right?
Uh, that's such a large question to answer in a nutshell.
Okay.
Let me address it sort of more, um, sort of give you a sort of wholer or a larger perspective to the whole game. Firstly, I've been in the industry almost 30 years now.
Oh wow. Okay.
I've had a fantastic journey.
Okay.
Many ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course, the fashion industry today is now finally a business, and it's a big one,
Yeah.
and it's here to stay. Sadly, we're all going through a world crisis today, so I can't sort of make any references in the last, I don't know, 6 months. But prior to that, yes, fashion in India has blossomed and blossomed really well
Mm-hmm.
and become a huge industry. I've personally actually watched this grow from two designers to four designers to 10 designers. And I was amongst that brigade in, I think, 89 to be precise,
Wow.
when I came back from London and had no intentions of actually coming and starting any sort of fashionable career in this country, because it wasn't really a business that was taken seriously in those days. I literally came in for a winter break. I was
Okay.
studying in London. I finished my graduation in fashion in the UK, and I came down and met. I was very lucky and fortunate to meet a really good team at Ensemble, which was Tarun and his sister,
Mm-hmm.
and we all just got along like a house on fire. And I never looked back. I mean, and that's really when I started my career. So yes, I've actually watched this evolve. I think it's come a very long way from being a fickle industry to a very serious industry today. And yeah, I mean, even fashions in terms of trends, I pretty much focus only on menswear,
Mm-hmm.
and I branched off, I think, about 6 or 8 years after starting my label post 89
Okay.
into a solo menswear designer. That in itself, I've watched evolve in so many ways. I mean, we can sort of expand on it later, but
Yeah.
men, the way they dress today and the way they dress then, I mean, it's like north and south. It's like poles apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much I've seen this industry grow and I've grown with it, and it's been fantastic.
And you spoke about 89, and that era. or that phase was also very tricky in India as well, because in India people were still grappling with a lot of communal uh, aspects of the world. I'm sure you've lived it, I have lived it,
Mm,
uh, right till 1995. And there was a lot of unrest in the country as a whole, and there
yes.
was a lot of things going on. India was transforming, I would say. That was
Yeah.
that were those 6 8 years were formidable for India, not
Right.
just from politics but also from the industry, from technology, from everything. And even television was really becoming big at that time. Media was becoming
Right.
big. It because of the media, a lot of things which happened was because of media as well. Because people got more
Right.
aware, people got more understanding of what's happening around India, uh,
Right.
and fashion somewhere was not really out there, as you said. Nobody had fashion on top of mind because of everything which was
Right.
going around. So how
So
did you really
as
build about staying firm that okay, this will become big, not now but in the future?
as I said, I mean, there are many questions in that big question that you just asked me.
Yeah.
I'll try and address each one of them. As you rightly said, yes, I mean, it was a formidable time, those 10 years that India or the world was going through, India especially. But as I mentioned, when we all started in the 80s or the late 80s, it was considered a very fickle industry.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, at the same time, there were some very serious boutiques. Also, there was a launch of Ensemble that had already been established 5 7 years earlier to
Mm-hmm.
that. I came in only 8 years later. Uh, Again, during that time, the fun part was we as designers pretty much paved the way as it is today for a lot of the younger breed that's now come in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, there are pros and there are cons. I mean, you can say we paved it, it's easier today or it was easier then. However, the fun part of it was we could do what we wanted, when we wanted, how we wanted. We weren't dictated a trend. We actually were here to set the trends.
Yeah.
Um, Also, being a fickle industry with so much else going on. Having said that, even today, if you look at India as a whole, fashion is really a very elitist sort of industry. It's not something we don't have street fashion per se like you have in Europe.
That is
Now,
correct.
even that whole thing, that whole deal has come a full circle. Now, the biggest brands today are going back to the drawing board and looking at themselves, introspecting. They've dropped seasons with this huge pandemic. I keep referring to the pandemic because it's a game changer for the planet.
Yep.
And it's time we all sort of took stock and woke up to where we stand.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the largest designers are now going back to the drawing board, going back to an atelier space, a boutique space, which is where I started, and I pretty much maintained it. I've never been a 10 store sort of designer.
Mm-hmm.
In those days, I was always questioned as to, why the hell your contemporaries have 3 stores, 4 stores, 5 stores. You still have only 1 store. You only just about opening a second store. I was always really happy doing my own thing at my own pace, and I think I carved a pretty strong niche
Mm-hmm.
and a fan following and a loyalty base in my customer.
Okay.
Also, it was very boutique. It was very sort of hands-on, which is where we're all going back today. I'm
Yep.
jumping a timeline between 89 and 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but having said all of this, whilst India was also growing, yes, media was very simple in those days.
Yeah.
Everything was very simple. We weren't looking over our shoulder. It was a freer spirited time.
Yep.
It was even before terrorism took place the way it took place in India.
Yep.
I mean, even before 9/11 took place, even before, I don't know, so much hell took place.
Yes.
Times were much simpler. Media was much simpler. It was it was the good old fashioned pen on paper. If there was an interview, there was a face to face interview. You'd have a team with these huge cameras that came in,
Yeah.
whether it was on whether it was on Network East or on BBC or whether it was a local channel. It was a procedure. It was a whole big deal.
Yeah.
Today, you and me are doing a podcast over a telephone,
Yeah.
and you'll probably reach out to 1,000 million people overnight.
Yes.
I mean, you've got Instagram today, which we battle. I personally battled getting onto Instagram, and I'm only a year old Instagram product.
Yeah.
I mean, when my contemporaries or juniors have fan followings that go into millions, you know.
Hmm.
So I mean, media, of course, today is very, very savvy. It's very fast, but I also find in the process we've lost. It's all about instant gratification. You
That
want
is
it
correct.
now.
Yeah.
Which is what I feel fashion shouldn't be or isn't, or any form of art shouldn't be. It's a process, it's a creative journey, which I think somewhere down the line loses itself, loses all respect for itself. And I don't know, each one to his own. I mean, there are lots of designers that it works for,
Yeah.
lots of designers that it doesn't work for.
Yeah.
When I say this, I mean, I'm talking from an artist point of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have never been, I mean, I'm saying this really blatantly. I've never been a businessman. Maybe
Hmm.
that's why I'm not a 10 strong sort of guy, but I've always designed from the heart. If I don't like it, I won't speak it. So that's pretty much, I think I pretty much covered what you sort of asked me in a nutshell.
No talk.
Again, it's,
No, talking about
yeah,
the stories and Instagram, I was browsing through it, your profile,
yeah,
your
right,
Instagram handle, and there have been some amazing stories, friends,
right,
and people whom you've dressed, uh,
yes,
and they just share how you approach fashion and specifically fashion for menswear, and you kind of touched about that you developed your niche on men's fashion,
yes,
and even within that you have a niche. I see that from what when I looked at some old videos of yours where you did Lakme Fashion Week, and what one of them was on cycles and bicycles,
right,
right?
right,
And today you are dressing men up in the royal but mixing contemporary as well as the old to new kind of mixture. uh,
right,
and you spoke about fashion is an art also, right? And where
yeah,
I'm getting to is, it needs to evolve. It can't keep up
yes,
doing the same thing. So would love to hear your perspective, because it's so much. It's, people have a perspective that fashion is, it's only for the elitists, but actually, like you said, streetwear, people can do it at home also if they have to, with what they.
absolutely, absolutely. So again, I mean, my journey and it's an ongoing journey. It's a never-ending journey.
Yeah.
Um, it's always been extremely emotional
Mm-hmm.
for me. For me, every single collection is almost like giving birth to a child. I mean, it's like I have to fall in love. I have to sort of cry. I have to get emotional with anything I do. With every single show, and I haven't done that many shows
Mm-hmm.
really compared to my fellow colleagues in the industry. My shows have to become magnum opuses. They've got to tell the story. They've got to be a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all based around a theme. They're pretty much based around something that will trigger off an inspiration. You made a reference to the cycle show.
Yeah.
I'm an avid cyclist. I love vintage cycles. I collect them. I restore them.
Wow.
Having said that, I'll get into that topic a little later.
Sure.
I'm a huge vintage buff. I mean,
Okay.
I could be, and I am fascinated by almost any and everything. I mean, I find inspiration in every bloody thing, and I'm being serious here. I mean, and anything. I mean, it's a cycle. It could be a motorbike. It could be a typewriter. It
Mm-hmm.
could be a gramophone. It
Yep.
could be old black and white photographs. Everything turns me on, especially stuff that I have not been part of, something that is historic or goes down in history. Um, that I wasn't part of. I mean, I just love the design and the intrigue and the mystery.
Wow.
And I just find even design during then, whether it's a car, a motorbike, or a cycle, was unique. There was something special about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I feel all of that. Now, here I'm talking about industrial design has become almost sort of clones of itself.
Yep.
They've become generic. There's nothing exciting about it. The lines are the same.
Yeah.
Today I drive a Mark II 1968 Ambassador, which I've restored myself.
Wow.
You know, it just turns me on, and it's a status of, it's an Indian car. It's made by Hindustan Motors,
Yes.
which died itself finally in 2013 in Calcutta.
Yeah.
But it's a piece of history that I own and treasure, and I use it.
Wow.
Same way. Similarly, whether it's a bike or a scooter or cycles, everything has an influence on my art and my work and my art form. So everything lends some sort of inspiration to it. I mean, I've been a huge flight jacket collector, for instance, from World War II. I collect army gear. Now, my entire biker line and biker jackets have drawn inspiration from World War II flight jackets,
Wow.
whether it's the B-55 or the B-35, whichever the jacket style or the model is. So for me, that's my journey. Everything has a story to tell, and I have to tell that story to my audience.
Hmm.
It's my canvas during or that moment of 15 minutes or 20 minutes that I'm doing a show or I'm showing a collection. That is my canvas. That is my palette. So if I don't have something to say, I will not say it. I cannot just do a show for the heck of it. So I would say, at least for me, I'm only speaking for myself as a designer.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ever evolving. I cannot be stagnant.
Yeah.
That is the biggest downfall for me as a designer. If I become stagnant ever.
Wow.
So
And
I think that's what keeps me going pretty much.
you spoke so many things, and it's beautiful. We can double click on many of them. And, vintage, anything, like you said, has the hint of royalness
Yes.
in its approach. As you said, whether it's even a old furniture, whether
Yeah.
it's an vintage furniture, maybe your ancestral furniture, it just gives
Right.
that feeling of royal. And the old has always been close to my heart as well. Like at home, I have a wardrobe which has been passed probably 3 generations now.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. You must send me a picture.
yes,
I'd
definitely.
love to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's pure teak, and it just, and my wife would say, "Hey, let's replace it." I said, "No, this is something I really near and dear to me."
Absolutely. I mean, you won't dream of seeing something like that. I mean, apart from being a piece of history.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure the workmanship on that, or like the wood that you mentioned,
yeah,
you won't get that today. You
yeah,
cannot. You can't even replicate this piece today.
yeah,
You know. So that's what's really exciting.
yeah.
And you made a reference to royalty.
Right.
That's another huge chunk our Indian royalty that we have in
Agreed.
India.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way they've always dressed down the line. I mean, I'm trained as a tailor, as a cutter.
Mm-hmm.
I love to construct. I love to work with my hands. So today to do a bandgala or a suit
Mm-hmm.
really turns me on and is very exciting. So to see a line of a garment that a Raja or a Maharaja or a prince possibly wore in the 1930s or the 1920s, they lived that life of of um, of everything. I mean, it
Yep.
wasn't just lavish. They lived a life of everything. I mean, it was over the top. It was opulent. They had everything at their beck and call.
Yep.
So today, even people make references to haute couture, or they make references to bespoke tailoring. I think these are all highly abused words.
Yeah.
I don't think people even in the industry get the half of the meaning of any of these words. It took me 10 years, for instance, to have the guts or the balls or the courage to put Arjun Khanna Couture, and I'm a trained couturier.
Yep.
So to put couture on my label took me a long time. I mean, I was really embarrassed to do it till I felt really easy and comfortable with the game.
Hmm.
Having said that, bespoke or homemade or tailor-made or coming to your doorstep has been an age-old tradition when we didn't even know it.
Yes.
Right up to today, you see the ladies, they'll get their patwa home
Yep.
to get their jewelry made, for
Mm-hmm.
instance.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get a tailor home to get themselves measured. It's not something new or novel. In the West, getting a service like this is really unique, it's really novel, therefore demands a certain cost and a fee.
Yep.
Therefore, the high price of a couture label.
Hmm.
So, coming back to royalty, it's something that's also a huge chunk of design influence and inspiration that I draw from.
And somewhere you spoke about vintage and design, and you having a single store. Typically today what's also happened within the fashion or within the design world, people don't care if there are 300 of them floating around of the same
Right.
style, right? Because somebody else wore it, even I need it. But somewhere I
Right.
see that you've not kind of mass produced also your stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, the way I look at some of your designs and some of your work. It's been unique,
Right.
it's been few, which also gives it exclusivity to the people who wear it in many ways. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yep. And that's unique, and that's tough to sustain as well, because
So,
masses.
as yes, I mean, you rightly pointed that out. I mean, as I said, I mean, I'm an artist. I mean,
Yeah,
I cannot mass produce. If
yeah,
you want mass produced garments, you have Zara,
yeah,
you have Mango,
yeah,
you've got tons of brands that do this.
yeah,
I don't know how to mass produce. I don't want to mass produce. And ironically, the whole world has come down to its knees and is going back to exactly not mass producing.
yep,
It's all about sustainability. It's all about sustainable fashion, sustainable denim, sustainable. God, I mean, it's all a full circle.
yeah,
It's back to the drawing board today, ironically.
mm-hmm,
Um, it's a business model that works differently for different people.
yep,
Um, I have always been very comfortable with doing what I do. Sometimes I'll do one jacket and I won't even repeat it, so that client who's bought it is lucky. I mean, he genuinely considers himself lucky. So I'm also myself. Sorry, I've used the word lucky many times, but I'm also lucky to have clients who've come in and appreciated me for that art form.
mm-hmm,
You know, in turn, they've been able to, obviously, if the size has been consistent in that client, has been able to wear that jacket or that outfit for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from when they bought the same outfit. I have so many people coming and telling me, you know what, I'm still wearing my wedding sherwani.
wow, okay,
So it's really delightful to hear that.
yep,
One, one because it hasn't worn out. Two, it's also timelessness in the fashion.
yeah,
Three, I don't do gimmicky stuff. I mean, I play a lot with clothing. I challenge tailoring. I'm a huge denim buff as well.
yeah,
I play a lot with vintage denim. But again, it all boils down to boutique. And what's the best way to put it? I mean, it's like an artist painting a canvas. I mean,
mm-hmm,
he can't mass produce that.
yep,
That to me is my art of fashion. Now,
mm-hmm,
again, from a business point of view, this may not always be the finest business model,
yeah,
but we do have we do have smaller lines like your kurtas or shirts where I will do sort of maybe tens and fifteens and twenties of a similar style.
yeah,
But that again, they're in small quantity,
it's not
and
mass,
I'm
yeah,
no, it's not nice, and I'm happy to do that.
yeah,
Maybe one day I'll do a label which is an off the rack label, which may not be just Arjun Khanna,
yep,
maybe something else.
yeah,
I don't know, by Arjun Khanna.
yeah.
So that's still to come.
Okay, and definitely would look forward to it. But just talking about creativity, and you know, it it's so beautiful. You just said that you are almost like an artist. You're not a fashion designer. You're not somebody who's. You're almost an artist who's like you have a blank canvas and you can paint or you can draw. You can do anything you want. But to be an artist, how does those creativity juices flow in? Like, how do you switch off to get into
I
that
can't
switch on
even,
mode?
I mean, this is something I don't know how to answer. I can't, as I mentioned,
Okay.
it is an emotional love affair. It's almost like the agony and ecstasy of creating something, and that's what turns me on. I mean, it's almost sexual. I mean, I've got to be so turned on and
Okay.
excited. In the earlier days, I've fallen in love with my collections. And when I was doing women's wear, I'd fall in love with the model, or
Okay.
therefore the terminology of having a muse.
Hmm.
I mean, it is a very sexual process and a journey.
Hmm.
Earlier, I'd create garments. Even today, I create garments, and I just don't want to sell them. And people in my team will say, "Are you stupid?" No, I don't think I'm stupid. I mean, I'm so in love with it. I'll do, let's say, 50 pieces or 60 pieces,
Hmm.
and out of them, 10 pieces I just adore, and I will not sell it. You know,
Wow. Okay.
it may be stupid from a business point of view, but that's what it is. I mean, it's almost it's an emotional love affair. You gotta. I mean, it has to really turn me on.
Hmm.
So therefore, I will do lesser shows. I'll do lesser collections or fewer collections. Um, as I said, I mean, if I don't have something substantial to speak about or say, I won't do it. I mean, it's pointless. I can't churn out um, clothing like a manufacturing machine. I mean, it's not.
Okay.
It's all handmade. Even my team works with me hands on. It's on the drawing board. It's on the table. I'm very close with my tailors or my team or my masters that work with me. Or the assistants that are working with me, it's all hands-on with the fabric. I mean, it's an emotional love affair. It's like
Yep.
making food. You know, it's like painting. It's like working in oil.
Mm-hmm.
So I work in textile.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. But it's that. It's like pottery.
Yeah. So how long
It's
does it take?
tactile.
How long does it take for, let's say, an idea being conceived to it coming to production?
Sometimes ideas with me pour out, and it's so frustrating because the time that it takes to make the collection, I'm already on my 10th idea or the
Okay.
20th idea.
Okay.
So that is my most frustrating time
Hmm.
because I have to be patient. It takes time to cut. It takes time to source the fabric for the garment. It then takes time to stitch the garment and then put it all together. There's lining, and there's so much work in every garment that I make. There's even embroidery in the lining,
Yeah.
or there's a certain kind of print that I do in the lining. So my garments have to look as gorgeous from the inside as they do on the outside.
Yeah.
So that time when I'm producing could take any time, I don't know, between from concept stage to making an entire collection, between 1 to maybe 4 months,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
depending. That's about a 50-piece collection.
Okay.
Uh, and the time in there, when I'm already on the third or the fourth idea, is truly the most frustrating time because I'm already ready to look at what the second garment looks like, or the third garment, or the new idea looks like. So therefore, I've opened like 2 or 3 sampling units now with me, but
Okay.
I'm doing little bits of everything. So at least I get a visual of what it's looking like. It's like taking a piece of paper and you're painting on,
Yeah.
but a garment can't come out that quick.
Yeah.
So I've got sampling units that are doing, little looks for me of
Mm-hmm.
every different collection.
Yeah. So don't mind me asking this question, but the
Yeah.
art is in. Uh, everybody sees art differently, and
Yes.
you may have had a lot of critiques also. And so,
Right.
since you're so emotionally involved with what you do, how do you keep up with critiques or somebody who doesn't like your work?
So you know what I mean? I've always maintained that whoever comes and sees my clothes or comes and sees a show, when I meet them at the back or backstage or when my show's over,
Mm-hmm.
I can't bear a line that it was okay. Hey, what did you think? Yeah, it was nice. I
Mm-hmm.
can't bear these words. It's
Okay.
really I want to kill the person.
Okay.
You gotta say, man, bloody hell, AK, that was fantastic.
Okay.
Or you gotta say, man, that was shit.
Okay.
These two compliments are lovely for me.
Okay.
That in between guy really pisses me off. What is
Okay.
okay? I am not okay.
Hmm.
I can either be shit and I'm happy to be shit to you. It's your opinion. Or I can be fantastic, which is fantastic to me.
Hmm.
Let me tell you one thing. I've had a hall where I've had standing ovations. But that one person who doesn't get up or one person who doesn't clap will bother me. I will go back to the drawing board and recreate and come back with a vengeance with something new.
Hmm.
That's my turn on. That's my excitement.
Very interesting. Okay.
Now, having said all of this, of course, collections sometimes don't go down well.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's okay. I think the whole process of growing and evolving is realizing what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
You can't live in your own bubble
Yep.
permanently. We did initially. It was a lovely space to be, but today things are different. It's a different time.
Yeah. And this
Um,
and that your exposure is far too much, right? Like what you mentioned earlier, like ju-
yeah,
just being on Instagram, you're probably reaching millions of people. Earlier, through
exactly.
fashion shows, you would typically reach to 1,000 people seeing it, experiencing it,
Ex-
and probably a few more
Exactly. I
people who were
mean,
interested in it.
today you've got eyeballs which are global. It's you can reach out to the world
Yep.
with a click of a button. Now, in those days, we didn't have that. So you'd do a show, you'd get a press person coming in, they'd write, then you're waiting eagerly for a Saturday or a Friday or whenever that publication would come out,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. Today, I mean, you do a photo session and a shoot, you're waiting for film to develop, and you're waiting eagerly to see your prints.
Yeah.
Today, the minute you shoot, it's instant gratification. Everything is now,
Yep.
you know. So it's got its pros, it's got its cons, but I would say, yeah. I mean, that's what the whole game is all about. I mean, you can't have everybody loving what you do,
Sure. So
you
when
know.
you're
So,
yeah,
yeah,
just changing a little bit on the fashion itself. So when you're designing clothes, right? Whom do
yeah.
you have in mind? Like, is it yourself? Like whether you're going to wear it?
Uh,
Because
Pretty
sometimes,
much yes. I mean, pretty much yes. I mean, I design clothes that I'd wear.
okay.
I love clothing. I love vintage clothing. I love denim. I
Mm-hmm.
love leather jackets. I love flight jackets.
Mm-hmm.
I love, I don't know, uniform. I love military uniform. So I draw inspiration from all this. I love suit making. I just love the art of Savile. I love the Italian style of dressing. I've always been hugely inspired by the mafia and the way they used to dress.
Wow. Okay.
Godfather,
Okay. Yes.
Godfather was my absolute idol, still is. Every single mafia movie or gang movie or Italian mafioso movie
Okay.
always turned me on. One of my first collections that went on official onto stage when I joined Ensemble was Mafia, all about the Mafia. It was
Wow.
only about suits and overcoats.
Hmm.
Um, you know, you also talked about, you asked me a question about critiques
Yeah.
and people not liking your collection. A very interesting thought came to me. In those days, I was always called or considered very avant-garde.
Huh.
I did a collection of jackets. I'm
Uh-huh.
talking about easily 10, 15 years ago,
Yep.
which I had embroidered lots of flowers on sports blazers and linen.
Uh-huh.
And that was the first time I actually got a lot of people would say, man, what's wrong with this guy? He's put flowers on jackets. It's so feminine.
Hmm.
Today, look around you.
Yes.
Every single jacket, every single other designer is almost aping one another,
Yep.
doing flowers on their jackets. Look back 20 years on one of my collections, or 15 years, I did jackets then and I was mocked.
Hmm.
So fashion comes a whole cycle,
Yep.
and that's the beauty of it. And that's what I love and enjoy looking back on.
Yep.
It's a full cycle.
It is like the bell bottoms which people would make fun of. I still remember it.
Absolutely.
Or
They're,
the
they're, they're trickling in. They would have been here now
yeah.
if 2020 wasn't what it is.
Yes.
Bell bottoms are they're on their way back. I mean, but
Yeah. Or the skinny.
everything's on hold.
Yeah, the skinny clothes. They're all
Yeah,
over
all the
right
skinny
now.
drain pipe look. Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. So that's what I love about fashion or the history of fashion.
Yep.
It really excites me to see the trends, and what I find unique is one, again, to answer your question, I always dress. I always make the clothes or imagine the clothes. If it's not a mafia movie, it is it is something that I would wear, and they have to be functional as well.
Yeah.
You know, from a suit to a denim jacket, they've got to be really functional and comfortable,
Hmm.
and they've just got to be beautiful. Yeah, you got to take off that jacket, and it's got to be as gorgeous from the inside.
Yep.
So that to me is just it's all about making beautiful clothing.
You said it, meaning I shouldn't say it, meaning I always tell anybody whenever I get my custom jacket, people will say, "Oh,
Yeah,
don't worry about the inside." I was like, "No, I think that's what
yeah.
shows the quality of the right jacket, right?"
Absolutely. It could be a riding jacket. It could be a biker jacket.
Yes,
Man, you're riding a motorcycle. You got to feel really good, not just look good, but you got to feel really good in that jacket.
yes. So talking about riding, I'm also a Harley rider, and that's how we got
Yes, I
connected.
believe so.
Yes, and a bicycle. Recently, I bought a bicycle. So
Oh, lovely.
yeah. So talking about you know and just building on this, how you design and you think about yourself wearing it, but
Right,
often than not you are not on the stage. You have your
right.
models or you have your celebrity who's wearing it. There's a difference between wearing and carrying it off. right?
Right.
There's a big difference in that, like how your shoulders are, how you walk, how you,
Right.
you know. So how do you ensure that what you feeling is passed on to somebody else who is about to wear what you've designed?
So again, I mean, for me, again, there are many aspects to answer that question. For me, it has to be. It's like a movie. It's got to be a script. It's got to be a movie. I'm telling a story during that time of
Mm-hmm.
my show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Therefore, today, or if you look at any of my shows, I get models in various, um, I don't know, looks. Some may have a beard, some may have a mustache,
Mm-hmm.
some may have straight shoulders, some may have droopy shoulders. I mean, it's like they're different body types.
Yep.
Obviously, as a whole, they're pretty much a similar size because it's easier for us to do a collection as a sample line
Yeah.
of 50, 60 pieces with one size line.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when it goes into the boutiques, we obviously cater to different sizes.
Yep.
And during that time, when I'm painting my canvas on the ramp,
Mm-hmm.
I will style every individual differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some will come out with a bandana, some will come out with a hat, some will come out with glasses. It's my imagination of how this movie is unfolding and telling its story to the audience. So
Mm-hmm.
they're different characters,
Okay.
you know. And that's the thing. I mean, I live in my own world, so
Okay.
I'm trying to portray that world or tell my story during that time. It's
Very.
again, it's like a painter painting his canvas.
Yeah.
Once he's painted, it's hanging on a wall. Now it's how you interpret it.
Uh-huh.
You may love it, you may hate it, you may cry, you may laugh. That's your emotion. He can't control that.
Mm-hmm.
So you may come in and say, "Man, I love that jacket. I want to wear it every damn day of my life. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to get out of it." Fantastic for me.
Yep.
Or you may come in and say, "You know what? No, man, it's not my scene. I'm not going to wear that jacket. Cool. I hate it."
Yep. Now I was
But don't say it was. Don't be one of those in between guys who say it's okay.
yeah. And it's also a state of mind for somebody who's watching it as well. Now, since I've been, because of this lockdown, fitness is one thing,
Yeah.
cycling. And when I watched that video of yours, it was so relatable to me because I'm in that state of mind right now. Uh,
Right.
that, I can probably, not in India so much because of the weather,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
Mumbai, but, if I'm in some other parts of the world,
Yeah.
wearing that and going and on a bicycle, it would not look odd. In fact, I would openly do it.
So there's something very interesting you said, and I'd like to sort of hopefully try and make you not change. It's a strong word. Maybe look at it differently,
Hmm.
and maybe you will address it differently. Now you said, I may wear this abroad,
Hmm.
and I may not look like that, and I may feel odd in India. So that's something that I'd love to. Like today, if I was to wear something, I wear retro clothing. I don't wear. If you see me cycling on Marine Drive,
Hmm.
I will not look like 25 other or 1,000 other cyclists who are cycling down on Marine Drive.
Hmm.
I ride a steel bike. I ride a vintage machine, which I've restored myself.
Okay.
I will wear retro gear,
Hmm.
and it's one off and it's unique. I feel good. It's about how you feel.
Hmm.
The
Okay.
minute you start feeling good in what you wear, you'll stop feeling odd. Of course, we also have climate constraints.
Yeah, that is why I was saying. Yeah,
I wish we could wear a lot of stuff that our climate doesn't allow us to wear.
that
Of
is why.
course,
Yep.
but having said that, yeah, I mean, people who travel wear this when you travel abroad. But
Hmm.
of course, I mean, you got to. I feel you got to really feel good to look good
Yep.
in what you wear.
So talking about, sometimes I'm a big guy, we
Right.
uh, and in size as well, and sometimes
Yeah.
fashion uh, and what you see kind of puts people like us out of the mix in many ways, right?
Okay.
And you said that when you are in the boutique, you would develop content or develop styles which caters to
Yeah.
different sizes. But when it
Okay.
comes to modeling industry or actually showcasing the products, it's always a certain size and certain scale. What do you think about that? Like,
So again, referring to sizing and a size chart.
Yep.
Even that is now changing today. You
Mm-hmm.
look at models internationally, look at models all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a tall guy, short guy, dark guy, light guy. I don't know. You'll have colored guys. You've got guys with beards. You've got curly hair. You've got straight hair. You've got I don't know, big guys, skinny guys.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's what the designer wants to portray, and everything works today. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't think those days are anymore that it's only got to be a certain size.
Yep.
I per se don't follow that anymore.
Okay.
Um, I'd probably dress anybody who'd look good, who carries off my garment with a certain amount of ease,
Yep.
comfort, and a shitload of attitude.
Yeah.
You know, and with an easy sense of style. They're not wearing something. I mean, I can tell when somebody's wearing something. Let me tell you something. Okay, let me put it more sort of interesting. You look at most men over here who get into a suit, they
Mm-hmm.
will suddenly go all stiff.
Yep.
Why? Because they're not used to wearing a suit.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with being fat or thin.
Yeah.
It's just not our culture. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
we don't dress in suits. So the minute you put the guy into a suit and a tie, he'll become stiff.
Yep.
You look at Europe, I mean, the guy, everybody's in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of his skin, it's part of his way of moving.
Yep.
So similarly, it's how you wear that garment
Yeah.
is what I'd love to see and portray and change. You've got to feel good in that garment.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you a great looking jacket, but if you don't look good or you don't feel good, you're not going to look good in that garment. I
Sure.
can't force it onto you,
Yep.
being a designer.
Sure. So changing gears a little bit, and let's talk
Yeah,
about you did talk about your team, whether they
yeah.
are your masters or people who are helping you paint the picture, all of that. If I have to ask them how is Arjun Khanna or how is AK, what would they say as per you?
Guys, um, I think you ask anybody in my team, at least I would hope the one thing that they would say, and I'm sure I'm sure they would say that is that I'm a com- I'm a lunatic when it comes to perfection,
Okay.
and I'm a complete. I mean, I am anal. Um, I don't know every damn OCC, ACC, DCC, you name it. I mean, I'm every damn word when it comes to lines, levels, detailing,
Okay.
and if there is, I mean, okay, if you ask them, you say, साहब एक आधा सूट का भी मिस्टेक पकड़ लेंगे हमको.
Hmm.
I think that in a nutshell it is. I
Okay.
mean, if you do buttonholes, I don't have to measure it. He'll hold it up, and if one is even, I'm talking about like half a millimeter at an angle
Mm-hmm.
or off, or the
Okay.
gaps are a little less.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. It's a sickness. I mean, I'll tell you straight away, there's off. And
Okay.
many times I've been challenged. नहीं साहब ठीक है नहीं. I said to माप ले इसको.
Okay.
And it's measured. It is exactly that much off. It makes
Hmm.
me ill, but it also makes me very high.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
I'm happy with it at the moment.
Hmm. So you
So yeah, I
always
think
wanted
that's
to
what
be
it is.
this fashion industry. What got you really kicked about? Like you studied fashion in London.
So, uh, I don't know if always wanted to be a designer. I mean, I've always been very creative. I've always wanted to work with my hands.
Okay.
I've always, with everything that I wanted to do, right from being a movie star, mafia don, I don't know, a fighter pilot. I
Okay.
wanted to ride. Wanted to sort of fly MiGs. I don't
Okay.
know. I mean, so from wanting to do everything, I've always wanted to dress well. I've
Mm-hmm.
always dressed differently. I wanted to be different. I've
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to be unique. So I think this fever started from I think the sixth standard or the seventh standard in school.
Okay.
My uniform couldn't be the same.
Interesting.
So don't ask me how I did it. I went. We only wore a white shirt and a white pair of trousers.
Okay.
Even that I got my mum to get me a tailor, and I had turn ups on my pants. I'd have a turn up or a cuff on my shirt. I'd have to have some damn different detail on my shirt that made me stand out from my class. So
Interesting.
whatever
Okay.
the hell I did, it was always it was always clothing that came. Then I just loved the construction of a garment and suit making.
Hmm.
And in those days, there was just no school that taught fashion to men. It was SLET
Yep.
and Sapphire, which only did
Women.
I don't know, fashion
Yeah.
courses for women.
Yep.
So therefore, the move to London.
Hmm. If you spoke about you wanted to do various things as a child, so let's say if I give
Yes,
you a time machine now and
right.
it gets you back into 80s, and
Yeah,
you have a choice. You can either relive what you have lived for the last 30 years in this industry, or
yeah.
you can go ahead and reduce it and probably achieve what you have achieved in shorter time, or live a completely different life than what you are living today. What would you choose?
So let me tell you one thing. That's such an interesting question, and I've never actually gone back that far in
Okay.
thought. I don't have many regrets actually. I mean, I'm pretty happy and content.
Okay.
Um, but going back 30 years, I would have certainly done something to do to what's the word? I mean,
Okay.
to look at it as a business where I'd make lots and lots of money.
Okay.
So I could have lived this lifestyle 30 years ago.
Okay.
Therefore, collected those many more things down the line
Hmm.
30 years later. So
Okay.
basically, live the vintage style and the life of the great Gatsby 30 years ago.
Very
Pretty much in
interesting.
a nutshell.
Very interesting.
As I said, I wasn't a businessman,
Hmm.
so I didn't know how to make money.
Okay.
I still don't.
Okay. And you spoke about your inspiration, where it stems from. Now, there are a lot of people within, and when I say people, youngsters who are looking to either get into the industry or actually pursuing their career within the industry. What would your thoughts be to them?
So, I mean, again, there are so many people. As I said again earlier,
Hmm.
fashion today is a booming industry. It's a huge industry. Um, you look at every single neighborhood, every single corner store. If it's not a tailor, it's a boutique. If it's not a boutique, it's haute couture.
Hmm.
So I find it blasphemous in many ways. But again, in the same breath, everybody's doing okay.
Yep.
Everybody's making some money.
Hmm.
Everybody's selling.
Hmm.
Everybody's in the industry. Therefore, everybody's in a huge, big, fat rat race.
Hmm.
My biggest advice to any youngster coming to the business is that, you know what, arm yourself. Again, it depends on what you want out of it.
Yep.
If it's purely the business, if it's purely just selling, then do whatever the hell you're doing. And if it's working, go with it and stay with it. But if you want to be a designer of any repute, you want to be a designer of any passion, find that compassion, I don't know, pursue the art form, be true to yourself
Hmm.
first, and arm yourself with some element of knowledge when it comes to the construction and the making of your garments. So you're not dependent only on your karigar. You're not
Hmm.
dependent only on your tailor. You're not
Hmm.
dependent only on your master. Today I'm not stuck. If nobody came in, I can still construct the damn garment. I love making the clothes.
Wow.
You
Okay.
know, so you need to have just arm yourself with some of these elements.
Hmm.
And again, just be true to yourself here.
Okay.
Be natural, be true to yourself, and stop aping what your next door neighbor or the more successful designer is doing. Do your own thing. I
Huh.
find that the saddest thing in our industry.
Yep.
And I'm
There
and
is a
here I'm
lot
not
of it.
talking about I'm not talking about only the juniors. I'm
Yeah.
talking about a lot of senior designers also. I mean, you pick up a magazine, everybody almost has become clones of each other. I can't tell who's done whom. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at a sari or a lehenga, it all looks the same. The ads look the same. The clothes look the same. And that's what I find really sad there because a lot of these guys had a very strong individual style earlier on.
Hmm.
Today, a sari looks the same. Today, look at the people who are the jet set that are buying these clothes. They all look the same.
Yeah.
So I find that really sad. The uniqueness and the individuality is somewhere down the line lost.
Hmm. On a closing note, we are on top of our hour. Any
Right.
fun, interesting moment? Fashion industry has a lot of it, uh,
Yeah.
which you still remember, and when you look back, you still laugh about it.
God, so many, so many, so many. I mean, I could almost write a book on these ones. But I think the earliest memory I had was when I used to be interviewed by so many press people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they'd come and ask me, to be a successful designer.
Mm-hmm.
A very pertinent, personal question: how come you're not gay? And this used to laugh. I used to laugh,
Okay.
and you don't have to be gay to be successful as a
Yeah.
designer.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and
stereotyping it almost,
I
right?
love all my fellow designers who are gay or are not
Yeah.
gay. But I said, you know what? What's your sexual preference got to do with being an artist or a successful designer?
Hmm.
So this is really the top of the line that comes forward, and it used to really fascinate me. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? You don't have to be gay to be a good designer.
Yeah. No, Arjun, this
Yeah, I
has
think
been fun, interesting conversation. And on that point, which you mentioned it about the stereotyping, I think the fashion industry has been looked upon in a very different lens for many years, and it's
yes,
changed in the
yes, it has.
last decade, specifically. Uh,
Absolutely, and I really feel this is the time, and I'm sure you've heard this, and
yeah,
everybody's heard this, but I really feel we need to take stock and actually do something and learn from what's going on the planet
yeah,
today.
yeah,
2020, we've learned a huge blow I don't know, to everybody's faces.
yeah,
We're down on our knees. So I think apart from the fashion industry, I think every single industry needs to take stock of what they are doing to the planet,
yeah,
and let's all make a difference, really. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. A beautiful note on that. Thank you for your time, Arjun. It was great chatting up with you. I'm sure that,
Likewise, Anis, pleasure, and I must thank Ronnie for this.
yes,
Thank you, and I hope to see you in person sometime soon on a
definitely.
ride.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Sure. When the bikes
fantastic.
are out, definitely we'll be together.
Yes, super, Anis.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
Yep.
Good luck.
Stay
Yeah,
safe. Bye bye.
bye, man. Bye.
Thank you for listening in. And we close yet another episode of Masters Decoded. If you've enjoyed the episode, please, you can help us out by sharing it on social media. I would personally appreciate that. It's how we can reach more listeners, and the more listeners we have, the more awesome guests I can get in touch and convince to participate in these conversations that are a joy to have for me, and I hope they are a joy for you to listen as well. You can also help a lot leaving reviews on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. Reviews are surprisingly helpful in supporting the podcast to get to more listeners. If this episode has intrigued you, I would request you to subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date and get notified to the future episodes. With that, I bid you and see you in the next episode.